Hey guys, it's Marc Levesque, and I am back again with Jonathan Del Gallo. He is the owner of Del Gallo Construction Group, and we are here at the Department of Children and Families, and Jonathan's going to go into a little bit more detail about the protocols that we followed here, just like we did over at the Early Learning Center, our other client, the Florida Early Learning Center. Take it away, Johnny.
Well, what we have to consider when we go in to do any kind of restoration effort is what is going to be the ultimate end occupied use. Whenever you have children, elderly people that could possibly have an immune system that's weakened and so forth, you really have to go through and do your diligence to make sure that everything is sanitized properly. In this particular case, we put together an elite group of guys. We had a hygienist, Ken Larson, who's probably number 5 in the entire nation with his credentials. He was the one that came in and actually did his independent testing for us and told us where the high levels of contamination were so that we could address those areas with different measures and different levels of sanitization. This particular room here had a vinyl floor covering, which is a non-porous material. However, after testing, we did reveal that the glue layers had unacceptable levels of contamination. So we had to go and pull all the flooring, scrape the glue. We came in with big commercial pressure washing machines. We had to do pressure washing and chemical treatments to get this floor to where it's an acceptable level. If you'll notice some of the blue tape that's hanging on the doors here, what we had to do is physically go in room to room, test each room, and once it was deemed occupiable, we do a lockout and tag out system with tape. But every square inch of the floor has been allocated and accounted for and tested, which with this kind of occupied use, you would have to go through those kind of extreme measures to ensure that after the rebuild, you do not jeopardize anything coming back and possibly getting tenants, children, elderly, anything like that sick. This particular area has passed all of its clearances, and we're getting ready to hang insulation and drywall.
I noticed you get some really clean lines on your cuts too. You know, I've seen some jobs where it's just kind of all over the place with how you took off the drywall. So that's really nice too.
Well, like I said, we had a really elite group of guys. Can't really take credit for that. We did point them in the right direction, but our guys are just some of the most capable men that I've seen in this area. They take a lot of pride in what they do, and they really want to get in and get out and do it right the first time instead of coming back multiple times and trying to get it right. If you'll notice some of these tags here on the floor, this indicates that this area was passed to a level of satisfaction that would, basically satisfy any of the state legislated protocol.
What about all this graffiti you got going on?
These are indicators of how much contamination were in certain areas. Basically to show us what kind of level of sanitization and how many steps we would have to go through to get it properly treated. And again, this is one of them where if you're in a hospital situation, or if you had, a nursing home, or you had any kind of a school occupied use, you would want to go through these measures to ensure that the occupants, when they do occupy the building, don't have any kind of, you can get respiratory sickness, you can get infections, and so on and so forth.
Speaking of hospitals and stuff, this is not really your first rodeo with working in facilities. You've also worked in hospitals, done construction for hospitals and things like that as well, right?
That's correct. We're very familiar with working in hospitals. West Florida Hospital is one of our main contracts, and you have to set up extensive containment areas so that you don't contaminate any other part of the hospital. And that involves a lot of times setting up negative air, containing all the air in those areas into different machines that then filter the air and pump them back into the building.
Great. What about when I was getting yelled at for stepping on the wrong thing with my booties earlier? No, well, not earlier today, but like about a week ago, I thought I was gonna get tackled.
Well, in this particular job, what we did was we tackled the offices separately and kept all the common hallway areas so that you could access to the rooms. And as we were coming out, we had to ensure that everything was sanitized all the way out. So we would have long rows of free, fresh plastic that was uncontaminated. Everybody had to wear hospital booties, full respirator masks, safety glasses, full PPE suits, hazmat suits, basically to ensure that they weren't cross-contaminating into any areas. As soon as they come out of an area, they are required to change that PPE so that it's constantly new and fresh. And that's just one of the things that we do to ensure that we're not cross-contaminating into areas.
What would you say? I know that you started very shortly after Hurricane Michael hit, and we've gotten complimented on, how far ahead we were. If you had to go ahead and put like a number of weeks from start to finish before these guys are going to be back in here and getting these services back online for the community, I mean, where do you think that we'll be? I mean, it's now November 15th or somewhere around there. You think it's going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months? What do you think?
Well, to get this 100% turnkey, painted carpet, drywall, everything finished, we'll probably be in about the first week of December, which would make the whole job from demolition to sanitization to rebuild about a 2-month long project.
Another thing that someone mentioned to me is that, which struck me funny, is that people were saying even your trash was organized outside.
Well, there's a lot to be said for organizing a job site and the efficiency. The fluidity of a job is basically determined on how organized it is. So we go through, again, I can't take credit there. We have an elite group of guys that come in every day with great attitudes. They come in wearing the proper PPE, and they do their diligence to make sure that every little thing has been looked after and accounted for.
Well, and what I would say is even though it's wet outside, but I'd say it's a resource desert here. Trying to find, especially in the beginning, right? Porta potties, containers. I mean, all your trash is already gone outside. We'll show you the parking lot out here. I mean, we've walked through this whole area, but it's noisy out there with cars and rain. But the parking lot's clean. I mean, there's not a speck of trash. Every nail's been picked up, every bit. So how'd you manage that?
Well, what we do, we don't come to an area where there's a storm and start meeting people and start acquiring help when we get here. We've got an elite group of guys that we've taken with us from place to place, and these are trusted. They've had work history with us before where we can guarantee the performance. These are not fly-by-nights.
And who'd you have actually do all that trash removal? I mean, those containers they had were super clean and brand new and nice.
It's a national company. They're called FECC, and they basically go all around the nation distributing containers and things like that. And they came through big time for us, providing I think about a dozen containers plus on this job alone.
Mm-hmm.
And they come out when they say they're going to, and they do an excellent job.
Well, I think that's it for us here. What we're going to do here is we're going to be putting more information out there for you folks. Johnny here is also working on the U.S. Attorney's Office building in Panama City as well. So that's got to tell you that there's a lot of people that put a lot of faith in Johnny. He's also just joined the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce, and we'll be having a grand opening soon. We might actually do it right here at the building. And there's also he also has a new office located right here in Panama City. He's local from Pensacola, yes, but he's local here and establishing roots here. And there's a lot of good things going to be coming out. You'll hear a lot about the Gallo Construction Group. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
All right.